up, you sexy little bum holes? So I've had a lot of people asking me, Frosty, what are your settings? Can you make a settings video? Where's that settings video at? Is the settings video done? You should do a settings video. Hey, Frosty, settings video. And I'm like, whoa, okay, fine. Wow, chill. I'll do a settings video. So, went ahead and made the settings video. Before we go ahead and get into it, just want to remind you guys, I do stream every single day on Twitch. Link will be down below in the description. Also, I'm holding a 30,000 KR giveaway. Link will also be down in the description for that. Make sure you join the Discord. We do karaoke every night. If you have any questions for me ever, you can ask me in there. DMs are not turned off. Link to the Discord will be down below. Hope to see you there. Let's go ahead and get into these settings. So before we get to anything down here below, I'm going to go ahead and go into controls because a lot of you guys asked me what my keybinds are. So I've changed a couple things in here, not too much. One of the things that I've changed is my spray to mouse 4, because sometimes, you know, I like to go around and flex my spray that I have in game. So I changed it to mouse 4, which is the mouse button on the side of the mouse that is closer to me. I have changed my primary weapon to 4 because I like to switch between my primary and my secondary, which you could also see is on 4. So I switched between the two using 4. Now, my melee weapon, like I said in my B-Hop tutorial video, I highly recommend that you put it on your mouse for ease of access for movement because it affects your jump height. So I went ahead and I moved that to mouse 5, which is on the side of the mouse, the button farther away from me. Other than that, I haven't changed anything, okay? Now, going back into the settings. A lot of times playing Silicon Valley, so I keep my default region on Silicon Valley. Obviously, language is English. Now, resolution, as you guys know, I do play with 1280 by 1024. I did that through my NVIDIA control panel settings, which is on my computer, not through the game. Automatically sets it in the game as well. It's just the style, it's just the resolution that I prefer to use. Yours might be different. I'm very performance-based. The higher your FPS, the better your movement's going to be. So I went ahead and I made sure that my resolution stays at 1. Why do I do this? Because if you put your resolution on 2, sure, it will look slightly better, but honestly, it's not really that noticeable to the eye. And keeping it on 1 is going to give you a little bit better performance. Going into frame cap, don't use frame cap. At all. At all. Okay? Frame cap goes against everything performance. The higher your FPS, the better your movement. So take off that frame cap so that you can get the max FPS possible, okay? Low spec and all these settings right here under performance I have turned off. Now, low spec might be wanted to use by those people who have lower end computers. What low spec does, it takes away the legs of the characters, not the hitbox, just the legs of enemy characters so that your computer might be running better for performance reasons. I have it turned off. It doesn't really bother me that much. Particles, shadows, ambient shading, bullet trails, muzzle flash, and sniper flap all are really more cosmetics to the game in a way, and they do take away some of your FPS, especially when they're in use. So ambient shading and shadows, I obviously took those off so that I can get higher FPS. Now moving down to interface, UI scale, this is what's going to be changing all of the UI on your screen to include the scoreboard, your health, how the size of it basically. Me, myself, with my settings and how my crosshair is set up, I prefer to keep my UI scale on 0.1. For the remainder of this video, I'm going to keep it on 1 so that you guys can go ahead and see the rest of the settings. And I will remind you guys at the end of the video to make sure to keep your UI scale on 0.1 if you want to copy my settings. UI, that's just going to be showing everything besides your crosshair. So the scoreboard, your health bar, all that stuff. If you want that stuff not to be shown when you're playing, you're going to go ahead and turn that off. I keep it on. Hit indicators, or apologies, dynamic HP bars. That's the health bars above each character. I keep this on to know how much health someone has remaining. Show hit indicators. For me, the reason why I turn this off is because I find it to be distracting when there's a hit marker every time it comes up, because there's also an auditory sound when you have a hit marker, so I feel there's no need to have the indicator on. Also, it does affect your FPS just slightly. Anything that basically comes up on your screen is gonna affect your FPS. So I turn it off because I want max performance, okay? Show damage, kind of the same reason I turn that off. I really don't think it's absolutely necessary to know how much damage you've done to someone when you have an HP bar above someone's head. I turn it off, obviously for FPS reasons. If you did have this on, you could change the color of your damage by, you know, clicking this, and then you're going to have a color wheel over, or color box over here on the left, top left, to where you can change the color of the damage that's going to pop up. Crit color is obviously going to be the critical damage color that pops up if you hit someone in the head. Damage scale, that's obviously the damage that pops up from show damage. Chat box, I leave on, as well as the kill feed. Kill counter, I keep on to show, so that I know how far away I am from a nuke, because obviously you know that you need 25 kills to get a nuke. So death counter, I keep turned off, because honestly, you really don't need to know how many deaths you have. Streak counter, that's also going to play into like knowing how far away you are from a nuke. It's just that kill counter is just going to show how many total kills you have. Streak counter is going to show how many kills you have on that specific life. Show player messages, majority of the time I keep it on. Sometimes I like to see what people are saying. A lot of times I'll join a match and someone will say, oh, hey, Frosty, and I like to chat with people. You can turn it off, especially I know some of you content creators out there like to turn it off just in case someone does say a bad word in the game. Now, unboxings. Majority of the time I do have it off, but as of recently I've had it on because of Season 2 being out and a bunch of new skins. Sometimes I like to see what people get when they do unboxings that are in my lobby. Show ping. You can have this on. Personally, I keep it off because I already know what my ping is regardless of what server I'm on, whether it be Silicon Valley, Miami, New York. I basically get the same ping on all the servers. Show FPS. This is something that I like to keep on because I like to know whether or not my FPS is being affected in any way, shape, or form. On average, I get about, I'd say about 950 FPS on average. So if I start getting an average about 700, I know something's wrong. So I like to keep it on so I know that I'm getting max performance. Keep in mind, if you do turn it off, it could help you a little bit with FPS. You might be getting a little bit higher FPS because of the fact that the game does not have to count how much FPS you're getting, frames per second you're getting per second. Movement speed, obviously this does affect your FPS as well. Some people like to keep this on to show how fast they're going. Personally, I don't keep it on. I think it's absolutely pointless. Also, it affects FPS, so I don't use it. This speed X and Y offset is obviously going to be the movement speed where that's placed on your screen as to the X and Y, and you can obviously move that around with the offset. Show medals. The medals are what comes up every time you kill someone. The stuff you see at the top of your screen, such as headshot, mid-air shots, slide shot. I turn medals off because I don't really need to know what I'm getting the points for. I just know that I'm getting those points, and obviously when it pops up, it's going to be affecting your FPS, so I keep it off. Name tag display, I just keep it on everyone because majority of the time I'm on free-for-all anyways, and it's just going to be seeing the enemies. But you can change it if you wanted to team only, enemy only, or just plain turn it off. But a lot of times when you're slide hopping around, especially me at like Mach 10, I want to be able to know if I can see someone in one frame off to my left. And a lot of the times, if I could see their name tag and their health display, that's going to put it off more than their character because their character might blend in with the background of the map. Name tag style, obviously you can change that to name only, name and health only, and stuff like that. So crosshair, coming down to crosshair. Sometimes I get a little bit finicky with my crosshair and I like to change it around now and then. I, as of recently, have been using a custom cross with always show on. If you don't have always show on, obviously if you are zooming in, obviously you know with an AK there's a red dot. If you were to zoom in, that crosshair would disappear and the red dot would take over. Now if you have it on always show, the crosshair is always going to stay on no matter what. The reason why I like to use a cross is because I don't like when there's a moving crosshair every time you're like slide hopping and it like zooms in and out, all that stuff. So I like to keep it a static crosshair. Now I do keep the shadow on because I like to see the outline of the crosshair. My color is yellow with the background shadow being black. Sometimes I'll change the main color to green, but the reason why I use yellow is because it's very catchy to the eye, so you can't really lose track of your crosshair, and it's very easy to aim in my opinion, and I like the feel of it. As for the size, I have it on 6.1. If you do want to change it to any decimal type size, you do have to click over here on the right and you could type in how big you want your crosshair. I have it on 6.1 with a thickness of 3. Keep in mind the UI scale back up here does affect the size of your crosshair. So if I keep my UI scale on 1, it's going to look a lot bigger than if I keep it on 0.1 like normal, and I have that nice little tiny crosshair that I usually use. Coming back down here below crosshair, we have gameplay. So X sensitivity and Y sensitivity, that's your sensitivity in game when you're not ADSing, or known as aiming down sights. So I keep mine at 0.4. Obviously my DPI is on 800 for my mouse. So if you do want to copy that, try and use it. I recommend finding your own sensitivity that you're used to. Also keep in mind, I have a big mouse pad, so I'm usually moving my hand around a lot. Find the sensitivity you're used to that you feel you can get comfortable with. If you're noticing that you overshooting shots, will obviously adjust as necessary, or if you're undershooting, but try and keep around the same sensitivity as you usually use so you can get used to it. Now the aiming X and Y is obviously going to be when you're ADSing or aiming down sights. I like to keep it the same, 0.4. That's just my personal preference. Field of view, that's how much field of view you have when you're playing. I keep it on 120 because I like to be very aware of my surroundings and what's happening, especially when I'm moving so fast. Some people do like to keep theirs at a lower field of view because they like to focus more on their aiming and how far they're missing their shots, stuff like that. And that will be affected by the field of view. It's going to be a little bit hard on higher field of views to see how far you're missing a character by. Lag compensation, this is more of a setting to use if you're playing on a different server. I really wouldn't worry about it too much. If you're going to be playing on your normal servers, just keep it on 1. Scroll direction, this kind of just affects when you're scrolling through your weapons with the mouse wheel, whether or not it's going to be following the scroll direction. I just keep it on, I don't change it, because I change weapons with my 4 and my mouse button as well. So streamer mode, it just changes around the names in game. Let's say someone has a bad name in game, something that's maybe against TOS for you content creators or streamers. Then you can put on streamer mode, it'll change around the letters in their name, so you won't be able to see that. Challenge mode. This is something for people who want to push to really grind KR, so they can do unboxing games, stuff like that. What it does is it takes whatever your health is of that character. So let's say you're playing Triggerman. It's going to take that health of 100 and it's going to half it. So I'll now be on 50 health and you also don't get any health regeneration. So it just makes it challenging. But the reward is that you do end the match with 1.5 times more KR than usual. So as you know, you can max out each match with 30 KR if you were to get 3,000 points. No higher unless you're using challenge mode, at which point you can max out with 45 KR. Now, invert y-axis, that's obviously going to be inverting your y-axis when you're aiming. Not sure why anyone would use that. Personally, I don't use it. This is if you're going to be a controller player. I'm going to kind of ignore this area because it has nothing to do with a lot of the people who are playing the game, because personally, I highly recommend playing keyboard and mouse. If you're playing controller, it's going to be very hard with the movement in game. And if you were to play controller, you would probably want to focus on being a bumper jumper by using the bumpers of the controller to jump and slide. Coming down on the audio, the sound in game, I keep on 0.3. Loud enough so the stream can hear, but not overbearing, especially with the mod that I use. I have a silence mod pack, but even still, too high of a sound is just overbearing for me. Voice volume, as a content creator, I keep on 0 because for all I know, someone could be in game and they can just spam the N-word or anything along those lines that I don't want my stream or YouTube to hear. View model, this is going to be your view model of your weapon. I keep mine on 120. Majority of the time, it doesn't matter. This only kind of affects your weapon if you have your view model on, which we'll get to in a second down here. Now, if you do have your view model on, weapon FOV is going to be how far out a little bit kind of your weapon is and how much you can see of it. Weapon bobbing is going to be how much your weapon bombs when you're hopping, jumping, anything like that. Leaning is going to be how much your weapon leans when you crouch, as well as how much it goes left to right. Now, your weapon X, Y, and Z offset, that's obviously going to be the X, the Y, and the Z being this on this axis. Now, if you have your X off pretty far out, I keep mine on 1.4 to 1.6 because sometimes I will use sniper if I'm going for clips for a montage, and I'll turn on my view model for that sniper, and I like it a little bit to the right, pretty far down because I don't want it too high up and blocking my view. And then I have it at 1.6 out on the Z offset so that it doesn't look like it's super close to my character. Now, if you do have your view model showing, there's a setting called hide weapon on ADS. What this does is say you're using AK and you aim down the sight with that AK. Well, the AK view model is then going to disappear, so you have a full view of your screen. The show primary and show secondary settings, right below that, that's going to be whether or not you want to show your primary and secondary view models at all. Me, for melee, I keep my show melee on because, as you do know, I do have the frostbite. Slight flex right there, by the way. I like to keep that on, especially on stream when I'm swinging around. Some people don't know. Say, oh, you have frostbite. Coming back over to settings, getting down to editing. this is going to be a lot of your customization and everything, which is also bleeds down into customization down here as well. Editing, this is your HUD health high and low. This is how high your health is. When my health bar is high, I keep it at a light blue color. When it's low, it's green. I really don't pay too much attention for it. The pop-up score color, that's the score that pops up every time you kill someone. It's going to show your total amount of points you got for that kill. Now, like I said before, I am very performance-based. So the pop-up score scale I keep pretty small because I don't want it distracting me when I'm playing. So I have it at 0.4. My pop-up score X and Y offset, that's going to be your offset for your score when it pops up. My Y offset is at 4.4 because I don't want it directly over my crosshair when I get a kill. So saturation. This does affect FPS, okay? The higher your saturation, the more FPS it's going to affect. Just keep in mind, the higher you go, the lower your FPS could be. Not by too much though. Personally, I like a nice colorful game, so I keep my saturation in-game on 2, and the UI saturation, which is the saturation of your in-game UI, I keep on 2 as well. Color hue in-game as well as UI, that's going to be kind of a color wheel. If you were going to like switch it around, it goes anywhere from 0 to 100, 100 being the same as 0. If you were to put it halfway through, the colors would be inverted. Games look a little bit weird. Some people like to do that on stream and stuff just to kind of switch it around a little bit. Now, the color hue on the UI will switch around the UI color scale. Some people like to switch that around while keeping the color hue in game the same. Now, vignette, I probably said that wrong. However, this is a setting that probably people want to use if they're trying to put together a montage or edit. It basically fades the edges of your screen. It's kind of hard to see, but it kind of puts a darker tone onto it so that when you're playing, if you're going for those montages, it might make the screen look cool. Might notice if I go back and forth like this. Chat opacity, performance based. I keep it on 0.5, like it a little bit see-through. I don't want it super standing out of my screen. I don't want it distracting me when stuff pops up or someone's trying to message in the chat. Background opacity, that's going to be the background behind the chat. I keep that on 1 so that if I'm on a map like Sub-Zero, I can still see the chat even when it's over the snow, which is extremely white and could blend in with the rest of the chat. Chat text outline, I keep that on for the outline of the chat so that I can see what people are saying. Chat height, 2.5, this is the default, I keep it the same. This is going to change how much chat comes up, whether it be a kill feed or at the in-game chat, how high up it goes on your screen. The lower you go, obviously, the smaller the size or the height of the chat will be. The depth map, I don't know why anyone would use this. Personally, just don't even worry about it. Green screen, this is if you want to get maybe a thumbnail for a video, something like that, you can use a green screen so that you can show another character on the screen and then obviously use it for editing and cut out the rest of the screen. I keep that off because I'm not a weirdo. Coming kind of customization, load mods and autoload mod. Autoload mod, what that does is that's going to auto-load the mod every time you load into a new match or open the game again. It's going to load your most previous mod that you use and will only load one mod, so it's not going to load multiple. Now I've been using my FrostyWolf mod, which is, if you want to use it, just click mods, it's up here near the top, you'll see it. It's called FrostyWolf by FrostyWolf TTV. Okay, back down to settings, over to customization once again. Scope borders. Scope borders is the toggle as to whether or not you want the black outline around your scope when you're using a sniper. Personally, if you want to be very aware of your surroundings, turn it off so that there's no scope borders and you can see everything that's going on, especially if you're using a custom scope image and stuff like that. Coming over to scope image. Now, this is where it gets very customizable in the game. Now, my scope image is my own personal scope that Herc made for me. A hit marker image is a PNG that's blank so that no hit marker pops up just in case to show hit indicators, which is turned off, doesn't work. The red dot image is the same blank PNG because I don't want my red dot to show up. You can obviously change these so that when you aim in with an assault rifle or a submachine gun, the red dot can be anything you want it to be as long as you have a link for it. All these links can be found in my Twitch channel, which again, the link is down below too. I have pretty much all the links for my scope image, my hit marker image, everything like that. My match end message, I do have GG, and then I link my Twitch so that if someone wants to stop by my Twitch at the end of the game, they can. My profile image is basically my logo. I don't really give that out at all, so you won't be able to find that in my channel. Now, you can customize the rest of your icons in game, such as your ammo icon, kills icon, death icon, all that stuff. I really don't bother with that much. Just keep in mind, if you are going to be putting an animated icon, it will affect your FPS. damage overlay. This is what affects your FPS the most in game. This is the red that pops up every time you get shot. The more damage you take, the more red your screen gets. You turn this off because when you get shot, the more you get shot, the more red your screen gets. That's something popping up on your screen that's going to affect your FPS, and your FPS is going to tank. I turn this off for more stable performance. I highly recommend it if you're very performance based and you're really looking to get into that pro scene and don't want your FPS going all over the place, turn it off. Now, just in case, I have that damage overlay image as a blank PNG. That way, just in case that doesn't work for whatever reason, nothing's gonna pop up. That's pretty much it to the settings. Just do keep in mind, once again, if you want to copy my settings, keep your UI scale on 0.1. All your UI will kind of decrease, but it could affect your FPS for all you know. If you have any questions about any of my settings, or you want to chat with me in Discord at any time, make sure you join the Discord, !Discord if you're coming to the Twitch channel, or just look at the link down below. Again, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, like, and comment what you want to see next video. Peace.